Welcome to the 126th Air Refueling Wing podcast of the Illinois Air National Guard at Scott Air Force Base. I'm your host, Tech Sergeant Brian Ellison. The 126th Air Refueling Wing podcast focused on people, mission, and community. Coming up, my conversation with 126th Air Refueling Wing Staff Judge Advocate, Lieutenant Colonel Matt Goetten, and from the 126th Recruiting Office, Tech Sergeant Rich Olson. I mentioned this before, but make sure you get subscribed to the 126th Airmen and Family Readiness newsletter called Miscellany. It's a great resource for information and events going on around the wing, the base, and the Air Force. At the end of August, this was mentioned in Miscellany, at the end of August at the Gateway Raceway, there is an auto race doubleheader, NASCAR Truck Series and IndyCar. Tickets are provided for free through VetTix. You can sign up through VetTix for free. If you have ever used VetTix before, it's amazing. I've used it. I use it all the time when we could go see live concerts. I bet I saw probably 6 or 7 concerts just last summer alone through VetTix. And if you haven't seen IndyCar yet, oh, holy cow. I went last year. Amazing. And make sure you stick around for the end of the race. I don't know how they're going to do it this year with social distancing. Obviously, they're going to be doing social distancing at the race. You're going to have wear a mask while you're at the race as well. But you can get onto the track after the race and see the award presentation and all that. So you can find out about the tickets, the free tickets through for the race at Gateway Raceway through Miscellany. You can sign up for the 126th Airmen and Family Readiness newsletter, Miscellany. You can find that on the 126th SharePoint, or ask Travis Barker to email it to you. Contact him at travis.e.barker6.civ@mail.mil. We're joined today by the 126th Air Refueling Wing Staff Judge Advocate, Lieutenant Colonel Matt Goetten. Sir, thanks for coming in today. Simple but broad question, sir. What can the JAG office do for us?
Our overall job in that office is really to support the wing commander and the wing's mission. But what we do for the service members in the wing really comes down to legal assistance. So I think that's what you want to talk about today. And
right.
We can get into the weeds on that a little bit.
Yeah, and when you say legal assistance, the first thing that comes to my mind is you guys can write up wills, right?
Right, yeah. So legal assistance includes providing you with wills, powers of attorney, I'll say simple legal documents that you'd have to pay some real money for out downtown. Excuse me. If you went to a lawyer downtown, but you're entitled to that service as a member of the Illinois National Guard, as a member of the United States Air Force. We provide that for you. So right. The first thing that comes to mind to most people is the will. That's something that we can do for you if you need it. Really provides you with value added. And I'm always preaching to young airmen, you've signed on, very honorable thing that you're doing here, but make sure that you take advantage of all that the Air Force has to offer you, and part of that is this legal assistance that we're talking about. But it can include some minor consults on maybe legal issues that you're having outside of the Air Force, and so we can get down into the granular details of that too if you want. But just a general legal assistance, anything you can think about that you may want to go talk to an attorney about, we can do that in the wing. The one thing that we don't do, and it's often confusing for wing members, is if you are facing some adverse administrative action, so demotion, maybe even a discharge from this wing, we don't represent wing members in that capacity because we represent the 126th Air Refueling Wing interest in that in that particular instance. And so But what we can do is hook you up with the ADC from the state, and so that's often confusing to airmen when they come in our office. So, but that's something also we can do, refer them out to an attorney who will help them out.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
When it comes to a will, do you recommend the younger, or do you recommend the younger airmen get wills?
Right. No, that's a great question, because what frequently happens is, the first sergeant is telling them, especially deployers, you have to go to JAG, you have to get a will, you have to get a power of attorney, you have to do this, you have to do that. All very well intentioned. Most of the young airmen probably don't need a will. I ask them really two simple questions. Are you married? And if the answer is no, I ask them, maybe not in this order, do you have children? And if the answer is no to that as well, if you're not married and if you don't have children, if you're okay, if you're a young airman, with all of your stuff going to your parents, well, that's what's going to happen by operation of law anyway. You probably don't need a will, to be honest with you. But if you're married, everything's going to go to your spouse. Unless you don't want that to happen, then we can divest your spouse of up to 50%. I could tell you some stories, but I won't, about people who did want to divest. Not in this wing, of course. Yeah, not in this wing, of course.
Good.
But no, everyone's situation is different, right? So, if you don't have a large amount of assets, and again, you're not married, you don't have children, probably don't need a will. If you do have children and you don't have a lot of assets, a will is important because the will tell the court who you want to take care of the children in the event that you and your spouse, if you're married, or you meet your untimely demise. You want the court to know what your intentions were vis-a-vis your children and who's going to take care of your children. So, again, in those two instances, it's very important that you do have a will. And if you don't fall into that category, you probably don't need to take your time to come to my office. But I always tell people, even if you don't really need one, if you want one, come on in and we'll take care of you. Yeah,
because that's probably pretty good. It's probably $250 maybe for a will.
So depending on how complicated your financial situation is, it could be anywhere from what you said, $250 that's the bottom basement
legal Zoom.
Yeah. That's I wouldn't be very comfortable with that will if I was paying $250 for a will. But depending on your situation, it can go up into the thousands of dollars, and so we typically pin that at about $600 to $800 of value to you as the member, and so I think it is valuable. And again, if you don't need it, you don't have to come get it. But if you need it, we do want to take care of you, especially deployers. But those are things you should be thinking about, even if you're not deploying, right? We start to think about it more when we're going into a hostile fire zone, of course, makes some sense, but something could happen to you on the way to drill, and so we want to make sure your family's taken care of if that happens. So I think wing members should think about that. Think about taking care of their family, and when they think about that, they should think about stopping in and seeing us.
We're talking with 126th Air Refueling Wing Staff Judge Advocate Lieutenant Colonel Matt Goetten. Sir, what can you tell us about powers of attorney?
So if you have a family care plan, so you're dual, you and your spouse are both in the military and you're required to have that family care plan, there is some language in something, and I haven't pinned it yet, but that suggests that you have to have a power of attorney in that packet. You don't have to have a power of attorney generally, and actually what we recommend against is getting a general power of attorney. If you are married, your spouse generally has all the power he or she needs in that relationship to take care of most of your legal matters if you were deployed. So what we don't do is, if you're not married, if you are asking us to give you a general power of attorney to, let's just say, the person you met at the bar 3 nights ago. so when you're going on deployment, you asked us to give power of attorney to this nice man or woman that you met a few nights ago. We're simply not going to do that for your own protection.
Yeah, that's good.
So the power of attorney gives the person that you're giving the power to the authority to do anything legally on your behalf that you could do for yourself. And so it is a very powerful instrument, and we want to make sure that we're wielding it appropriately. What we will do is, when it comes to powers of attorney, get into specific powers of attorney. So you may be going on a deployment, but you're trying to sell your house, or you're trying to buy your house, or buy a house, and your wife, and you want that to be in both of your names, and your wife needs to have the ability to sign for both of you. In which case, that's a very simple power of attorney. It's very specific to that function, and the power is extinguished once that function is employed. And so that can apply to many different things. We have medical powers of attorney that are very important to a lot of people. You know, what do you want to happen if you're incapacitated, can't make your own decisions? You know, that's another important power of attorney. But when it comes to general powers of attorney, we just simply don't like to do that for the obvious reasons.
You mentioned that power of attorney for health, for medical. Mm-hmm. Is that the same thing as a living will, or is that separate? Is that something different? So
the living will will tell the medical personnel what your intentions are if you can't make your own decision. I.e., do you want them to continue to keep you alive if they've determined, the medical personnel have determined that that you're no longer functioning and you will never be returned to function. So you're incapacitated in such a way that essentially you're going to be a constant vegetative state for however long they keep you alive. The medical power of attorney, the health care power of attorney, it's a little bit different in that it will give someone a ability to, if you're incapacitated, but you might recover, you might not, to make healthcare decisions while you're incapacitated, if that makes sense. So one is, I want to be kept alive, or I don't want to be kept alive. The other is, I want to give someone the power to assist if I can't do that myself. If that, I don't know if that distinction makes sense.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
So slightly different documents. They are 2 documents that we provide in the office. Again, as you look at the packet that we generally provide in the process is fairly simple. There's a website that the service member can go to, fill out their information, tell us what they want, a will, a living will, healthcare power of attorney. They can tell us what they want. They fill in the information. We pull that down. We have a consult with the member. We talk about the benefits to each of those documents, and then we'll produce those all at the same time. But the total package that is available to an airman, the typical package that we put together, probably has about a $1,200 value if you're looking at it on the civilian side.
Right. So. Thank you, sir. If you want to find out about this online will worksheet, you can go to aflegalassistance.law.af.mil. More with Lieutenant Colonel Matt Goetten in a minute. Make sure you check out the Wing's Facebook and Instagram pages, especially our Ask an Airman question of the month. We have 2 questions this month. What was your experience during the COVID-19 quarantine? And did you binge watch any shows on Netflix? I was so busy with homework, unfortunately, I don't think I binge watched any TV shows. I wish I could have done that. Check out the answers and leave your answers on our Facebook page. I'll share one airman's response at the end of the podcast. We're back with the 126th Air Refueling Wing Staff Judge Advocate Matt Goetten. Sir, can you notarized there at the JAG office if I need something notarized?
Yes. So yeah, we absolutely can do that. Everyone in the office, except for our brand new accession, who we stolen from you.
We're not heartbroken about it or anything.
We're happy to have them.
Not happy to lose them.
Right. Everyone in our office can do that. So if you have something that requires a notary, just pop in on a drill weekend, and it takes just less than a minute. We can notarize it and get you out the door.
Here's what I'm thinking. I live in St. Charles, and Missouri. This is a hot topic. Requires a notary public for your
mail-in ballot.
Mail-in absentee ballot.
Sure.
Will that suffice if I bring that in? If I am here on a drill weekend, that even though it's in Illinois, but I guess it's a military notary.
Correct. That's right. So we do not have state-specific notary. What we have in our office is a federally recognized military notary, and so I can check that, but my gut reaction to that is that 99.9% sure that notary would suffice for your absentee/mail-in ballot. I've heard a lot of chatter about that, and I don't know I don't live in Missouri, but in Illinois we've had absentee balloting for as long as I can remember, and in the last, let's say, 15 to 16 years, you don't really even have to give a reason why you want that. You can just request that ballot and they'll send it to you through the mail. Now in Illinois, it's not. And when it comes to that, you don't have to get it notarized. You just have to request of the circuit, or I'm sorry, the county clerk, the ballot from your precinct. So. But no, to answer your question directly, yes, I believe that if you wanted to vote by mail, vote by absentee in Missouri, you could bring that in and we can notarize it for you.
Okay.
There are some resources available to you out there if you are deployed, and I know we've had, of course, with COVID, I'm just coming off a 4-month deployment myself. We had upwards of 175 126 airmen on duty at any given time during COVID response. Excuse me. We also had numerous members on for civil unrest and preparing for flood. I know we have had a rash of deployments, outside of CONUS. And so those people that are currently deployed, there are resources available to get that ballot no matter what your jurisdiction is or no matter what your voting jurisdiction is. So I would encourage them, if they're listening to this, to go out and find those and do it sooner rather than later. Make sure that they know that they can get the ballot in a timely manner, because most of them require postmark by the election date. So, but there's resources out there for military members on a Title X status, so an active duty status, to get that. You're right.
Sir, we talked about what the JAG office can do, but what can the JAG office not do in regards to legal assistance?
Sure. Well, just briefly, so I mentioned, what we do in the office, and I think it's important to know what we cannot do. So, by regulation, we the lawyers in my office are not allowed to represent you downtown for something that occurred in your civilian side, right? So, that being said, if we have the knowledge to help you, if you want to come in and have a consult with us about one of those things, something that comes up frequently is family court issues. So, child support, divorce, anything like that might be in family court. I can't represent you on the civilian side. I'm a special prosecutor. So, Don Latrofa, Major Latrofa, my deputy, He works for the Social Security Administration as an attorney. We have training in all areas, but we don't necessarily practice in those areas. So what we do is we can, I'm hesitant to say refer you, but we can assist you in trying to find an attorney who can represent you outside if that's something that you want. And then also we can offer some counseling just to get you on the right track. And so even though we can't enter our appearance on your behalf in any case downtown, we do provide a little bit of assistance there. So I just caution people, because sometimes airmen come in and say, "Hey, I got this traffic ticket. Can you go take care of it for me?" No, I can't do that. But we can maybe help you on your way to make sure that you have the legal resources that you need to help you with whatever issue that you're dealing with. So, and then I've already touched base on, if it's an adverse administrative action from this wing, we simply won't be able to help you or assist you in that, but we can get you a referral to the ADC who will help you. So,
if somebody needs to see the ADC, does the ADC come down from Springfield?
He could. So our current ADC in the state of Illinois is Major Ryan Lenzner, and he is out of the Chicagoland area, but he does drill in Springfield. It really depends on his availability and then your situation. So the more serious the situation, the more likely he is to come down and do a face-to-face. He does attempt to, throughout the year, to travel throughout the state to make sure he's touching those bases. But the answer to your question directly is not necessarily, but certainly he can make himself available to do that.
Like almost an old-fashioned circuit attorney, where they used to ride from circuit to circuit.
That's right. He I don't think he's on horseback, but I think he prefers a car.
Yeah.
But no, he's a very skilled attorney. Spent several years on active duty, and was the chief. I know the last time I interacted with him on active duty, he was the chief of mill justice at Mountain Home. So he's a good guy, easy to talk to, and I would encourage anyone who has anything. Any adverse action pending against them where they've been appointed Major Lenzner, that they contact him.
That's great. How can folks get a hold of you? Are you guys holding office hours right now during this?
Right. Yeah.
Time?
So that's a great question too. So our legal office is traditional guard manned all the time, right? So if it's a drill weekend, it's easy. Give us a call or just pop in. And if we can meet with you, we will. If we can't, we won't. We'll set up an appointment for you, depending on what your situation is. Throughout the month, though, if you contact your chain of command, if it's something that they need to reach us, we're available all through the month for that purpose. And so, it probably won't be a face-to-face meeting, but sometimes it is. My deputy lives in the Chicagoland area. I live about halfway between here and Springfield, and so I'm not too far away. If we needed to set up a meeting, we could do that. And so, and then. My previous law office superintendent and my new one are both local. So if we really have a hot button and we need to meet, we can set up something with a paralegal and we can make that happen. So, great question. We are not a full-time, or we don't have any full-time staff. So, but there's always a way. Where there's a will, there's a way, right? So
yeah. All right. Thank you, sir. Lieutenant Colonel Matt Goetten, the 126th Air Refueling Wing Staff Judge Advocate. You can reach the 126th Air Refueling Wing Legal Office at 618-222-5600. 5733. Also, you can complete an online will worksheet at aflegalassistance.law.af.mil. We're here with Tech Sergeant Rich Olson, production recruiter from the 126th Air Refueling Wing Recruiting Office. Tech Sergeant Olson, what jobs are available this month?
Well, this month we're highlighting a couple jobs from the Logistics Readiness Squadron. We're currently looking for some people interested in being a fuels apprentice and some vehicle maintainers.
That's a great job right there, vehicle maintainer. You can take those. Those are two jobs you can take out into the civilian world.
Absolutely, especially the vehicle maintainer. You get those certifications. The ASE certification. That's highly sought after for vehicle mechanics. 2 months left in the fiscal year. Bonuses, any available? Yes, we do have some bonuses available right now. Bonuses for crew chiefs. Bonuses for security forces. The big thing to remember with that is we're coming up on the end of the fiscal year. Once October 1st hits, I don't know what the bonuses are going to be. So
you have to enlist before October 1st?
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Tech Sergeant Rich Olson from the 126th Recruiting Office. Thanks for taking the time.
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
Thanks to Tech Sergeant Rich Olson for letting me stop by their office in Building 5010. Again, you can contact the 126th Recruiting Office on Instagram and Facebook, 126 Recruiting, or give them a call, 618-222-5701. Again, be sure to check out our Facebook page for this month's question for Ask an Airman. One of the questions this month was, what did you binge watch during quarantine?
My name's Airman First Class Gregory Goetten. I'm with the 126 CPTF, and I am the base's ALO, accounting liaison, accounting technician. My favorite one was probably The Last Dance. I watched that whenever they came out, and I've watched it probably about 3 times now.
Thanks, Airman First Class Gregory Goetten with The Last Dance for his answer to that. The Last Dance, an interesting look at Michael Jordan. Some say he's not painted in the best light. Thanks for listening to the 126th Air Refueling Wing podcast, focused on people, mission, and community. I'm Tech Sergeant Brian Ellison.